Welcome to Silicon Valley Life. In each episode, you'll get an insider's look at what makes Silicon Valley special, how people pursue ideas, deal with failure, and enjoy life. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, concordiaventures.com. Now, here are the hosts of Silicon Valley Life, Naeem Zafar and Meena Meyyappan.
Well, welcome back, everyone. We are Meena and Naeem are back here for another episode of Silicon Valley Life. I hope you've been enjoying it. Today's a special episode, actually. Meena, you were going
Yes,
to say?
I was going to say, what has your day been like in the valley here, Naeem?
Yeah, today is a special day because we have more time to talk about our lives because we don't have a guest today. So we can talk about that. Yeah, today is a good day because I was teaching a class. I drove to Mills College, Northeastern campus in Oakland. So you got up at 6 o'clock. You're on the road at 7:15. You're teaching a class from 8:45 to 12. Then met with some my students who want to start a venture fund for an hour. Then I drove back home to do a workout, and I did a Zoom call while driving about a lecture about how to raise money in Berkeley in April. Then did a workout, and now we are doing this. And we have much more. Day is not over yet. A lot more coming up.
Absolutely.
What about you?
I will add to the other side of what you're going to say. Mine is a typical engineering day in Silicon Valley life. I get up in the morning, rush to my first meeting after I grab my breakfast on the fly, and I've been back to back late for every meeting, and even lunch is over a meeting. So I'm excited about this podcast because the first time I get some creative space to share what life in the valley is like.
It is, I think most people may find it strange. I almost schedule my calls, my Zoom meetings while driving. So I have a camera set up on the windscreen where I put my camera. I have an autopilot, so my hands could be free if necessary. So I kill two birds with one stone. I schedule all the calls while I'm driving, and when I'm not doing a Zoom call, I'm listening to an audiobook.
See, that's
So
a tip and trick for us.
yeah, this is kind of normal life. Yeah. That's how we roll. We roll fast at high speed, living a purposeful life because time is short and a lot has to be accomplished.
Absolutely. Since we have no guests today, Naeem, how about we explore some tech trends?
You bet. What trend would you like to explore today?
I'm very interested in exploring a little bit about two things. One is AI specifically, and another one is all about climate change, particularly.
All right. Well, actually, both are interesting topics. So let me share my views, and I'd love to hear yours. So AI has been around for a long time. From 50s. A lot of papers have been written. Something happened last year, and what something happened was similar to 1995. Because internet has been around since early 70s, but Netscape browser allowed people to simply use the internet in a very simple, convenient way. Click, 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 you can get information. That changed everything. Similar thing happened to artificial intelligence. Been around from the 50s, but not till ChatGPT made it so easy to use. You can have a conversation. It remembers what you said in the last sentence. You can have a two-way conversation. That changed everything. And so many use cases popped up how you can have a conversation and dig deeper into it and have it summarize what you wrote, have it say it in different words, different languages. This has profound impact how business will be done, how people will live.
So
I don't know if you see
let me ask you a few questions. It's been around, but not in the type of use cases we are seeing today. Can we explore that a little bit?
Yeah. So I think that I want to talk about the use cases, but I also want to talk about some of the dangers. See, for example, what makes it use cases could be that you can create an avatar of me talking like me. And I have accumulated all the knowledge I have written, books I've published, all the talks I've given could be read by AI and it will speak like me, talk like me. So that's very powerful because then you can have multiple versions of me in different countries, different places talking about relevant topics. You can ask me questions, and my avatar will speak to you as if it has absorbed everything I've said. So imagine a great doctor who's in New York City now can have a consultation with a patient in Mumbai and Rio de Janeiro and Singapore.
Right.
So now the excellent healthcare is no longer confined to rich people in big cities. That's extremely powerful. And it's not just like one way, it's a two-way conversation because the knowledge is here in AI talking to you. So that's like one use case which I find very, very interesting. Same thing applies to teachers. If you look at a teacher in Botswana or any place in the world, she has to worry about social interaction, class discipline, creating interesting lecture plan, keeping people interested. Imagine now with AI, which is patient, doesn't get frustrated when child doesn't get something, can be individualized learning for each child in the class at his or her level. Suppose one child is really into dinosaurs, but one child is much more into cars and trains. We can take the same example and immediately with the AI give them which deals with dinosaurs as examples or trains as example or cars. You can automatically translate math problems, social interaction with a character which they resonate with. Suddenly the same lecture is much more intriguing and interesting. This is mass customization, and that is happening now. And it's amazing what can happen in the future.
I will ask you something on the flip side of this. I am a big fan of all the use cases and how we're making life better for everybody. But there's a trend of mental health issues from young children in the digital age. It's not just AI has created it, it's the digital age has created it. And this AI enhances mental, like mental disabilities and the nature of social awareness, right? Because we are creating avatars. What about the human experience? What about the human social interactions? It changes everything. So, what are your thoughts on that? You're on mute, Naeem. You're still on mute.
No, now it's better. Okay.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So I think that the point is that what social media did was two things. It was supposed to connect people. But what really happened was people became start showing a life of them which is not real, the best part of their life, living a dream world. So which made everybody else jealous or depressed or isolated. So it did something quite bad. I'm more hopeful with AI because what AI will create is hopefully a way to create connections with people or people's avatars based on their genuine emotion, based on have a conversation, going deeper. I do believe my best friend down the road will be some version of Siri, who will understand me, remember me, talk to me, empathize with me. So it's not
I'm cringing. I'm cringing now. I just can't imagine the day of that, but I'm cringing and I still love the human interaction, right?
We do. So I'm not saying that we're going to be away from human interaction. I hope is that there will be some corrected. Pendulum will swing back. See, because the reason I'm more optimistic is because all this technology will enable us to go back to what human life was many hundreds of thousands of years ago, with small tribes.
Right.
The ideal tribe was 150 people. When everybody knew each other, they knew their issues, they spent time together, did something. Something happened with urbanization when we all moved to the cities and all start, because that's where the jobs were, that's where the data was, that the information was. Now with the technology, there's a hope that we can be de-urbanized. We can live in communities when we freshly grow our vegetables and fruits and eat locally and interact with each other. When the air is purer and we're not driving all the time because drones and other technology are delivering our goods and services to us. We can access entertainment, we can access friends. So this is the world which I imagine is coming our way, which looks very healthy and attractive.
Makes sense. That naturally brings the next question that we should be talking about, which is what regulation of AI and concerns around that.
So I think for that is very important point because we haven't done that and this could really get out of control. Let's take an example. There's something which is a fiction,
Mm-hmm.
but we all believe it, so it works. Money. You believe you have, $1 million in the bank. Do you really? It's a number on a screen, but you believe it.
Correct. I agree with you because anytime that number on the screen could vanish for multiple reasons, and then what are
Yeah,
we left with?
we're left with. So it's a fiction, but it's a funny fiction because the whole world, even people in the remotest part of the world, believe they have money in the bank. There's something number printed on the checkbook or on the ATM machine or in the all when you log in. But we all believe it works. Now, for it to work, it is super critical that we strongly punish fake money. So every government in the world has laws and rules that if you try to print fake money, there'll be severe consequences. Because if anybody could print money, because with good printer and copy, you can do that. The whole system falls apart. So there's things like that. Without strong regulation, the whole system falls apart. AI has the same danger as money. With fake avatars, with fake news, with inserting to create discontent among societies. We have seen many examples of that. If left unchecked, society will stop functioning as we know it. So this is the danger. And we haven't gotten our head around how to do regulations, how to control AI, what is not allowed, what will be the punishment if you did that. The lawmakers are still figuring out how to write those laws, and AI is moving in super fast speed. So I'm a little concerned that if we don't control it, we can have consequences which we did not intend. And a good thing can become very bad thing, tearing the societies apart.
Very quickly. And just on the same topic, since we're here, let's talk about the startup scene, because now every startup that you look left and right in Silicon Valley is early stage startup focused on AI. And some of them are on the infrastructure level and some of them are particularly on the application level. So let's just talk a little bit about that space for our viewers.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it'll be good to hear your point of view because you're the techie, you're in the middle of it. But my view is internet is not a separate category. Every industry is impacted by internet. We can't function without internet. AI is bigger tsunami than the internet was. It's deeper, more consequential, and more relevant to every single company. So they have to figure out how do we write copy for advertisements? How do we approach customers? How do we run campaigns? How do you do accounting? Even simple legal interaction, all will be AI automated pretty soon. Already happening. Classrooms will change, jobs will change. So we haven't as a society even been ready for that.
Yep.
And
I
you
would like
probably
the
see,
technology part, Naeem, and you're talking about the application part, right? How about I sneak in a little bit of the technology part?
yeah, tell me.
There's actually just three layers to AI. We all think about it so complicated. First of all is the data, the volume of data that's needed, that needs to be fed, right? And then we come up with an algorithm, very simple algorithm that is very specific to the application you're working on. If you wanted to talk to somebody, it's a voice algorithm asking questions and finding answers. So the second layer is just algorithm and a model. And the third one is how we present that to the user, right? It could be from a voice perspective, it could be from a UI perspective, or it could be from a robotics perspective, right? You make an arm move or something happen based on a visual clue. So this is the circle of AI. After that, there is many multiple small things inside of it. So everybody gets worried about AI technology, but in general, it's like the internet. It is the core infrastructure and skeleton of all the things that we want to actually improve or impact in the human life.
So can you see some use cases or what technologies are built, what's missing, what's coming?
So there's three things, right? Technology wise, you have to look at it from a voice generation. You have to look at it from a visual generation. How do I use or ask questions, or what do I react to from a user perspective, right? Think about the user layer. How will you interact with AI? From a voice, visual, maybe it's a signal. There's a lot of things that you could build the interface. That's the interface into this data and the models. So that is the part there's a lot of startups in, because they're trying to get there, right? And applications are multiple, right? It could be from the car's perspective, when a car senses another car, right? It's the EV sensing thing, sensor. It could be like, I wave my hand, then you do something, right? That's another, visual thing again. But there's a voice. I talk to you. That can also be generated, right? AI can talk to me and help me. I want to get something done, and I just ask this AI bot, hey, please help me. I don't know what to do with this, right? So there's multiple layers that have to be built, which is not there, which is there, but not fully baked as yet. And then comes the layer underneath, which is the models, which we've been running models for a long time. We just need to interact with these layers on the top. That's what it is, really.
Yeah, because I want to be able to say to my AI, for example, make a reservation for the friends I haven't seen in 2 months in a restaurant costing no more than $40 per person.
And that's conversational AI, where a lot of people are working on it.
Absolutely. So that's exciting. But look behind the scene. You have to first figure out who my friends are. When was the last time I saw them?
Yes.
When their schedule is open, which Saturday night or which night, which kind of food each person likes. Yes. Try to figure out some kind of a consensus and find a restaurant which has opening for 6 people or 8 people.
Yes.
But if I can say that and walk away in a schedule, that's beautiful.
Absolutely.
I think all the pieces are in place.
Yep. So first thing is the internet made available all the data, so we can score it, search it from multiple different places, social media, from all different sites. You can scrape it. Then we need infrastructure that is capable of scaling quickly through all this data and making sense of it, right? Just think about billions and of trillions of petabytes of data that you have to score, right, quickly to have a conversation with you, and with speed, because all I use is one speed, right? It's just, you can't wait 30 minutes to have a conversation with somebody on AI. So that is also another area that's booming. Like, if you see NVIDIA and, you see like Broadcom and all these chip makers are also helping at the infrastructure level, so they can do this kind of data processing and storage, calculations, things like that. So there's lots of things that have to be, fully readily available at larger scale. It's still at a smaller scale. It has to scale out big time to provide.
Is there a missing piece? Which piece is missing? Or all pieces are here?
I think all pieces are there, but not at scale, I would say. Scale is what everybody is like looking at.
But this conversational AI, when I can give you a complex instruction, how far away are we from? Are we a year away, or months away, or more than that?
I think we're about a year or so away, because everyone's working at speed to make it much more useful than what is the first few, applications we have. I've seen like a lot of first few applications where you can talk and get help. Like like I would bring up ADP as a good example. A lot of people use them for payroll, and it has an assistant that will walk you through the entire experience if you just talk to it.
Yeah.
Things like that exist. Yeah.
So like you want to run a payroll and you could just have a conversation about do this, don't pay Jennifer. She was out for 2 days and blah, blah, blah. And it does the payroll?
Yes, correct. So they have an assistant for every specific thing that they can do for payroll. It's a very interesting concept, because I can just talk. I don't have to type, and it thinks for me, right? So that's the kind of applications coming up.
Yeah, yeah. So I think this will be good to for us to get some guests who are building some of these things and interrogate them a little bit. That where are we stuck? What should we expect? What the future looks like, and when is it coming?
I would agree with you.
What's your view about the societal implication? You're more pessimistic than I am. I'm the optimistic one.
From a personality perspective, I care a lot about the human society and social behavior and things like that. So there's 2 things I worry about. One is the internet, first of all, has taken away from social interaction, a lot of it. All of it was apps, right? I mean, I get my food through an app. I get my dog walker through an app. Everything is through an app. So I don't connect. I'm transactional already. And the only kind of interaction I have is at work, or maybe, with my smaller circle of friends. Right now with AI and all that capabilities it provides for entertainment, I worry about the next generation of children who are learning only digitally. I completely worry about it, because I see my daughter's interaction as a lot digital. She does not care much to go out and spend time with friends that I'm doing. So just imagine the next generation. And to me, that is very, very concerning, because it is too far removed into what a practical life is, and how do you teach children about that? Because it's not, everything is not digital is easy. If you don't like it, you turn it off. But life you can't turn off. It's so what do we do about that? I worry a lot about that.
Well, maybe the issue is the life the same life you and I lived, or their lives will be different and they're well suited for that life.
That's a good
It's a
question.
life you and I cannot appreciate, but for they will.
I think so, but I think there is a mental aspect, social aspect that human beings are born with that has
Yeah.
to be satisfied. And how do we make sure that is met too in this whole thing?
Yeah, that's something I don't know the answer, but I'm just imagining 10,000 years ago,
Hmm.
humans did not understand why would they stay in a four walls and confine themselves when they could be out in the open.
Correct.
And they somehow then were forced into it or figured out that building a structure and staying inside has some benefits. And we got used to that life and we think that's normal. And
Hmm.
then we said, living in a cities full of heavy traffic, polluted air, processed food, that's life. That's good stuff.
That's Silicon Valley life.
So the question is, what is this generation? What is their life? How they will define it? Will be isolating to us, but
Right.
productive for them?
I think that's what will happen. And I think, spending time with another, like generation person, younger generation than even both of us would be interesting as one of our shows to go really deep into the topic of
Yeah.
how they look at today versus how AI is really kind of impacting their, capabilities or providing more capabilities for them.
Yeah.
So,
So let me switch topic a little bit about what you're seeing in the Silicon Valley startup scene.
yes.
Uh, is Silicon Valley humming? Is it the future? Do you see dark clouds, or do you see we're just getting started?
I actually would like to say a few things about the startup scene. Ever since the pandemic hit, the startup scene is still very alive, especially with AI. There's a lot of liveliness in here, but it's different. The makeup of the startups are different. What I see or what I observe is, first of all, remote work and hybrid work. There's that question that comes in. Second of all is, in the Silicon Valley, there's been a lot of exits of companies moving to other satellite areas. So these are the two trends that I'm seeing. Like, you don't have to be physically present, and maybe sometimes it's just like partial because people care about innovation, and exits from generally in Silicon Valley because it's become an extremely expensive place to live in. So this is what I'm seeing. And what about you, Nee?
Well, so I'm seeing what you're saying. I agree with you, but my feeling is, then what is Silicon Valley? So Silicon Valley to me was a unique place when it's a meritocracy. You can see people from all countries, all cultures working together because they were good at what they did. And that culture of able to confront each other and able to two knives sharpening each other and having those debates allowed us to create some amazing stuff. If we are not in the same vicinity, we're not having those social interaction, we're all remote, will we create the same culture, or will we kill the culture which made Silicon Valley special?
I think that's a question that's very interesting, because with remote work, the way I innovate is in a smaller circle outside of work. Because I have conversations outside in a smaller circle because I'm remote work. And what happens in a Silicon Valley, like most of it is on Zoom, right? I mean, we have some kind of a video conference and we're connecting with people, which is exhausting. All right. From a lot of human beings' perspective, you're on a screen, it's exhausting. You want to get away, you want to get fresh air. And there's nobody in a social circle for you to interact, because that's where innovation happens. You talk about your challenges, you look at okay, how do we solve them? And that's the part where you're seeing companies asking for hybrids, because they recognize innovation is very hard in a remote company. So that's
So
the
hybrid
challenge.
meaning that you come face to face at least once or twice a week.
Once or twice a week. A lot of people ask for two. Some ask, the bigger companies is like two, and smaller ones is one. And some even go as far as to say maybe once a month to help people with remote work.
Yeah, because that human interaction, the casual interactions are critical in maintaining the culture. And innovation comes from when you merge dots which are not connected, but you connect them, and that's when the revelation happens.
Absolutely. And so that's the trend that I'm seeing, right? Because it's bustling. Still, there's a lot of startup, like noise, especially around AI, like we talked about it. But the challenges are because people want to now work remotely because they had a taste of it from COVID. Because average Silicon Valley commute is 4 hours if you live in the valley here, or 2 hours one way and 2 hours the other way, or an hour at least minimum. And people don't want that anymore because half a day is gone in a commute. So hybrid work has become the new trend, just to keep innovation flowing in here.
But how does hybrid work? I mean, I understand it's working, because for me, sometimes it was good to get away from the house because of the kids and the pets and this
Right.
and that. You want some peace and quiet. So that office was a good place. How do you deal with that?
So yes and no. If you look at it from my perspective and my diversity perspective, I get a much healthy lifestyle now because I save 4 hours in a day. I get to spend time with family and really invest in my family, which I couldn't do before. Before it was a very minimal amount of office, like family time. It's mostly office hours between commute and coming back home, right? Just think about it. And then dinners are in a hurry. Maybe it's all takeout food. So that's Silicon Valley, takeout food, everywhere. And that doesn't help you with your wellness. So now I think a little bit of hybrid work enables you to focus on your health and wellness and family a little bit more at the few hours you got back.
So talking about time with the family, what are you doing? Give us a recommendation for a place to eat and something to watch.
So I'm a big fan of this place called Nosh Market. It is like modern, German food down in downtown Campbell in Silicon Valley. And I enjoy it. I enjoy it for a good cocktail as well as great, like German food.
So how do you spell Nash? How do you spell it?
It is Nasch Market, Nosh Market.
Nash Market on Campbell. Yeah, I think I've eaten there once. It's quite good. Actually, I love the spätzle.
Yeah.
It's like a homemade sort of a pasta. Yeah, spätzle. Yeah, it's very, very good.
Correct. And they have really good desserts too. So what about you, Naeem? What are you up to in this new restaurant scenes out here?
Well, funny enough, I'm going to an event tonight for dinner in Palo Alto, Vino and Cata. But I have a dinner tomorrow night and dinner Saturday night. So it's going to be a busy week with lots of interesting food outside. But actually tomorrow night, some of my students and I from Berkeley, we're going to Chez Panisse. So Chez Panisse was the restaurant which sort of started the California cuisine trend. Julia Waters was the chef who invented California cuisine like 30 years ago, maybe more.
Yes.
She wrote a cookbook, and it's a very good place. I've been there before, love it. Very hard to get in.
Very hard to get in, but great food. You got your students in, which is amazing.
Yeah, well, this is my teaching assistant. They want, if they did a good job, I have to take them out to a fancy dinner. So that's a fancy dinner tomorrow night. So let's see how that goes. So I'm excited about that.
Have we got a few minutes in our podcast? One last thing that you might want to share. What are you reading, or what podcasts are you listening to?
Well, actually, I'm working on a big lecture on colonialism, and especially colonialism in Africa. So I'm listening to several things to educate myself about colonialism. The lecture is scheduled in about 3 months from now. So a lot of research has to be done. Did you know that all countries in all countries in Africa were colonized except two?
Wow.
Every
Which
single.
is it two? Yeah.
So one was Ethiopia. It was a Italian protectorate for a while, but it was never colonized. They had their own king because they're one of the oldest civilization. Actually, the human civilization started in Ethiopia. So they had a king. They had a strong infrastructure. They were never quite colonized. And second one is Liberia. Now you may find this amusing about Liberia. Between 1840s and 1860s, there was a big movement that we imported all these people as slaves from Africa. We have to do something about that. So there's a whole movement to send them back to Africa.
Ooh, okay.
So they were 15,000 people were sent back to, which is now became Liberia.
Wow.
And to the point that the capital of Liberia is named after President James Monroe, the 5th president of the United States. It's called Monrovia.
Neat.
So, but well, it's very interesting. When they went back there, they acted and behaved like American, and they were rejected by local tribes. Like, who the hell are these guys?
Ooh.
And they're like, go away. So they set up their own society, mimicking American society, and they were never colonized because they're sent back from America. So very interesting history.
Yeah.
So I'm
That's
trying to shape that story, how to tell that story, and some other stories. I'm sort of basing it on three characters. Cecil Rhodes.
Mm-hmm.
You heard of a Rhodes Scholar?
Yeah.
Rhodes Scholarship.
Yes.
You heard of Rhodesia?
Right.
That was a country before it became Zimbabwe. Cecil Rhodes. Huge, made a huge play. Number two, Livingston, a British guy who's played a big role, and King Leopold of Belgium. He called a conference in 1884 of all the European power. Let's figure out who's going to take what. Let's carve out Africa. They had a big map of Africa.
Right.
They had a whole conference on this topic.
Wow. Okay.
So there's some interesting history here, which I'm trying to capture in a 200-slide PowerPoint in a 2-hour lecture.
Oh, that is so neat. The funny thing is, I will pull it back to Silicon Valley life. All of us here are immigrants. We'll have our own stories. We will be rejected in our countries. So we'll have many stories like that. Yeah.
So, talk about Silicon Valley life. People here are strange. We do strange things which are not normal and makes no sense to anybody else.
Yeah, Silicon Valley are what risk takers. So risk takers are creative people with strange habits, as you put it.
Yeah. So because that about being passionate, because you're passionate about multiple things in life.
Correct.
So so
we're about to wrap up. We've got a few more minutes in here, and so what I will say is the last thing we want to sign off is tell us a little bit about the tools, the three things that you really use a lot. The three tools you use.
So. Well, a couple of them will be pretty obvious. I shouldn't say that because, I am in Zoom several hours a day. Without Zoom, I don't know what I will do. So that's an essential tool. But the tool which is really I'm using more and more and saved me so much headache is Calendly. So Calendly.com, like calendar, but except Calendly, like leisurely. People can see my calendar. They can book a Zoom meeting or a Teams meeting or a phone call in 15-minute interval, half an hour, 1 hour, wherever. It just made my life so much simpler. I don't have to go back and forth. When are you available? Can you do Tuesday? Not about Thursday. Like, here's the link. Sign me up. What about you?
The two that, of course, Zoom, right? Like we're all on Zoom all the time. I don't know, there's other video ones, but Zoom seems to be the popular one, what I use every time.
Most useful.
It's very useful. And second one is Slack. I am slightly addicted to Slack because it's all about, digital messages, right? I can chat with somebody rather than my phone messages, which are not useful, because in Slack, I can connect to all the work tools I have. I can, get my calendar in here. I can set up a meeting. I can set up a conference call. I could do everything in one central place. I love a messaging, digital messaging tool that connects my entire workday. So I appreciate Slack a lot.
Well, great, Meena. Thank you so much for sharing. And viewers, I'd love to get your questions, like to get your topics you like us to discuss. We can pull in speakers. Like we said before, this is not that podcast. We're going to bring the luminaries. We will not invite the people you already know and can hear on the internet. We're going to find people you don't know about, but they're just as interesting, just as relevant. So tell us your ideas or topics you'd like to hear from, and we'd love to bring them in and have a conversation with them. And you can join us live, and we can also talk to you.
And keep the comments coming, because that's what we learn from you all to make the show better and better. So thank you for this 30 and odd minutes. We appreciated every bit of it, and hopefully you got something out of it for sure.
Yeah, thank you. See you next week.
We'll see you all.
You've been tuning into Silicon Valley Life with your hosts, Naeem Zafar and Meena Meyyappan. You can find this show on all the major platforms, including YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and on our website, concordiaventures.com. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others.